Hi, welcome back to The Distressed Princess. I'm Rhonda, and today I'm giving a makeover to my old plain Jane bedside tables. I bought these tables originally from Amazon some years ago, and they were the cheapest, cutest bedside tables I could find at the time. I was looking for something white, and they've held up pretty well, except that they're looking pretty tired and dingy, and they just need to be redone. Wouldn't you agree? First things first, these tables had been neglected for a little while, and so I had to wipe them all down, clean them all out. And helping me is Piper and my new little assistant, Yachty. When I'm painting furniture, I always like to use chalk paint because there's no sanding before using chalk paint. It always sticks very well. I'm using linen white Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum goes on so smooth. It's my favorite chalk paint to use. And I'm using this Worcester paintbrush. I like it because it's a smaller brush. It fits into my hand and I don't get hand cramps as bad when I'm painting. Since my tables were already white, I only had to use one coat to get a good coverage. But if you were starting with another color or an unfinished piece, it might take a couple. Look at the difference. I'm embarrassed that these were even in my bedroom. Things get so dingy somehow, and it's before you even know it. Like, I didn't realize that they were really this bad, but no worries because it's getting a whole fresh new coat of paint. For the top of the tables, I decided that I'm going to do a faux wood top. And I'm going to start with the Waverly Antique Wax on a baby wipe. And using the baby wipe helps spread that antique wax out a little thinner and gives it more of a realistic wood effect. But after I get this all spread out, I'm not stopping there. There's going to be more layers because that's one of the secrets of a real good faux wood look is layers of different colors, because of course wood is not all just one solid color. And so that's why you see I've left some darker spots and some are not covered as much, because you want that variety in color. And also I'm going to go all around the edges of the top of the table. Moving right into the next step, it doesn't have to dry in between. I used the Waverly chalk paint and truffle for another layer of a different brown color. And I'm putting stripes, like tiger stripes, on the top of this. And I'm using not the broad side of the foam brush, but just holding it kind of sideways to make those stripes. Then when I have quite a few stripes put down, then I use the flatter broad side of the foam brush to kind of go over them and feather them out and blend them into the rest of the table. While that truffle paint is still wet, then I use my wood grain tool to give it a subtle wood grain effect. If you wanted more wood grain, then you would put more of that truffle paint, because see where it really only picks up where that truffle paint was. And don't forget the edges of your table. They need to look like wood too. So I use my foam brush just to put a few little wood-like marks around the sides. For the drawers, I am going to use a technique that I have wanted to do for so long now, and I'm so excited I'm finally going to do it. I'm using this wrapping paper from the Dollar Tree, but you could use any kind of paper. You could use tissue paper, you could even stencil, but the point is I'm putting a design on the sides of the drawer so that when you open the drawers, it's so pretty and it's such a sweet little surprise to make me smile every time I get in these drawers. I just know it. But the beauty of using wrapping paper is, if it's the kind that has these little squares on the back, measuring is so easy. So I know that I have 3 squares wide and 10 squares long. So I cut enough pieces to cover all of my drawers, and I'm only doing the 2 sides, not the back, because nobody sees that. And I'm going to use my matte Mod Podge to glue them down. I would say I used a medium thickness of the Mod Podge, not really thin, but not globbing too thick either. Just a nice, average, normal, medium amount of Mod Podge to the side of the drawer. I thought it would be a good idea to apply this lining up the top side and working downward, because if I made any mistakes cutting the wrapping paper, then those mistakes would be on the bottom side where it's not shown as much as the top side. But I really didn't make very many cutting mistakes. It's not perfect, I'll say that, but you would never know it. Then smooth out the air bubbles and press the wrapping paper down onto the sides. And I did forget to mention that I did cut my pieces a little longer than they actually needed to be, because I figured it would be better to cut them longer than have them wind up being too short. So I cut them a little longer, and I'm going to trim them up with a utility knife when I'm done. I am so over the moon happy that the Dollar Tree has this pretty wrapping paper, because it just really is the perfect thing for my bedside drawers. And the last thing for my new bedside tables, these glass knobs, and what an improvement they made, because the ones that were on there were just little teeny tiny wooden ones, and one actually had broke off. I had to glue back on. Here's the final product, and if you'll check the time on my husband's clock, it's 5:48, and I think I started at about 1 o'clock. So yeah, one afternoon did these tables, and I'm so happy that I did it. And I'm loving my new bedside tables so much that I think I've decided to leave this bottom shelf empty, just because it's so simple, uncluttered, and clean. Now, if you're one that you need to have a glass of water on your bedside table or some sort of drink, then you would need to seal the tops of your tables with some polyacrylic or some sort of a chalk paint wax that will harden and protect your faux wood surface. I really couldn't be happier with how my bedside tables turned out. It really saved us a lot of money and not having to buy new ones. And I hope it inspires you to look at some things around your house that you might not be so happy with, or you might be getting tired of, and maybe you can give your things a makeover too. I hope you enjoyed this one, everyone. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you're not already a subscriber, and I'll see you next time. Bye.